Welcome, everybody. This is Danny Naz, aka The Pup, bringing you the weekend analysis for our trading edge. For those of you who are just joining us, as I mentioned, tonight's going to be an intimate evening with The Pup. Nixie has his grandma's 90th birthday party, so it's just me and you. All right, so let's take a quick look at the markets. As you may not have, as you know, or you may not have heard, Trump administration granted emergency authorization for a coronavirus plasma treatment. It's not a new treatment per se, but apparently has been used with coronavirus patients. It involves some sort of plasma injection with antibodies from coronavirus patients. So jury's still out, but you know, let's put this in perspective. We're topping out. We're at all-time highs on SPY. And, you know, Trump wants to push the markets higher. The Fed is running out of ammunition to stave off, you know, what's going on with the market. The dollar has been going down. So, you know, I think we're in for a good start to the week, maybe in for a good week in general. I think if SPY holds this level, we should continue to move higher. So having said that, let's start looking at some charts. So I have SPY up. And as I had mentioned, you could see, let me grab my annotation tool. All right, it doesn't want to let me use my annotation tool. Wonderful. So in any event, you could see we're topping out over here, coming up to basically the highs prior to COVID hitting in January and February. So it's an interesting spot. You know, we are breaking out a little bit, as you can see, peaking a little bit above our previous all-time high. So, you know, it remains to be seen. You know, if we can hold these levels, then we're going to continue higher and the party's going to go on. And I'm anticipating, you know, barring any major COVID news or anything out of the ordinary, I'm expecting us to continue to run at least until the election. And then obviously that's where things can get a little interesting. Bear with me 1 second. I want to see if I can get this spotlight thing open. For some reason, Zoom is not allowing me to use it. Bear with me 1 second. Let's see if that fixed it. Oh, fantastic. All right, so now I got my laser pointer. So yeah, so in any event, we have been holding, as you can see, we're holding this 20 simple moving average on SPY. And for those of you who know me, you know, I like buying pullbacks to the 20 on the daily. So far, so good. You know, we have a little bit of this rising wedge forming here. So I am looking for us to get a little tight up in this area here. So we may see some volatility for the next week or so, maybe a little longer, until we can clearly break above this 338.97 level. Next up are the Qs. So you can see we've been in a really nice channel. You know, tech has really been driving the market. Pullbacks to the 20 have been profitable. You can see all my green arrows pointing to tests on the Qs to the 20. Very few times have we closed underneath the 20. It looks like right here around July 24th and July 28th, we did close underneath the 20. But for the most part, we've pretty much held. And, you know, we could see right here, we're a bit above the 20 simple moving average. So you can notice here, when we pull too high above the 20, we pull back and we come back sometimes to the 20, and sometimes just above the 20. You know, we come up to the top, we pull back. We come up to the top, we pull back. We come up, we pull back. So, you know, we're in this coming up, but we're in the middle of the channel. So there's no reason why we can't go upwards of 300 on the Qs, let's say 290 to 300, before we have another big pullback. So, you know, just keep that in mind. Tech can continue to drive us. This market is not rational. We're not playing fundamentals here. We're playing technicals. And when you look at this chart technically, we are still in an uptrend. We're still bullish. We're still doing our thing. Taking a look at IWM, which is Russell 2000 small caps. You know, we had this volume shelf here that was basically forming in early July, end of June, early July. And we have this uptrend line that's been holding. And you could see we hit the uptrend line. We hit a little bit of support. And we had hit this, I think, let's see, is that the month-to-date anchored VWAP? Oh, just this capitulation candle here. You could see the capitulation candle down to the 20 simple moving average. I'll try and make this a little bigger so you can see it. And so I anchored my VWAP from this level, and you can see we did close right on top of that on Friday. So I'm going to be watching that pretty closely next week as far as small caps. Small caps have been doing pretty well, and you're going to notice I'm going to talk about a lot of small caps tonight. I feel like there's a lot of opportunity still there in small caps for the short term. You know, again, tech has been strong, but, you know, Tesla's been running, Amazon has been running, you know, Facebook and Apple have been taking their turns. I do think something that I didn't put on my chart and I'm still working on is Microsoft, and we can certainly take a look at that. I do think Microsoft is going to have a pretty interesting week. I feel like we could tap all-time highs or at least come up to that 220 level. So we'll take a look at that maybe towards the end. Let's take a look at another index, iPay. So iPay, the top holdings are PayPal, Square, MasterCard, FIS, and FISV. So, you know, iPay capitalizes on the shift from credit card to and cash transactions to the digital electronic formats. So you can see we've been in a nice uptrend, you know, and we do know we've been playing Square. PayPal has had a nice setup, but it looks like we're hitting a little bit of resistance here at 55.26. So I'm expecting possibly if we can't get back in our channel and get above this 55.26 level, then we might see some sector rotation out of payment systems and into other sectors. So definitely keeping this on watch. Another ETF that I've been watching is the Solar Invesco, or TAN. Pretty clever name for solar companies, obviously. And you can see, again, we've been holding this 20 simple moving average, and we're rounding out a little bit here. We're coming up to the 1618 extension from this previous swing high, bringing us previous swing low move. And so I'm expecting a little bit of consolidation, potentially building a little bit of a volume shelf here. And I'm going to look to see if we can break through this 54.66 level. And you could actually take a look at TAN, do a Google search on it, and figure out like what are the top holdings for TAN. That might give you some indication as we're breaking out, you know, what is going to be pushing TAN to the next level. You know, ENPH, Solar Edge, you know, those types of stocks in the TAN ETF. So going to talk about, you know, a couple of new stocks this week. Going to go over some trades from last week, and then we're going to take a look at some things that are still on the table that might be setting up for some moves. So something that's been coming up a lot is this rocket company, RKT. I'm pretty sure it's Rocket Mortgages. So for any of you who have been looking to buy a home or have been getting, you know, approvals to buy a home, you know, RKT is making some noise in this industry. They're looking to disrupt this industry. So, you know, obviously a new IPO. So let's look really quick on a lower time frame. We can look at the 65-minute. get a little bit of a sense of what's going on price-wise. So you can see we have pretty much a cup and handle here on the 65-minute chart. And I'll draw that out for you real quick, just so you can see. Let me get my rounded bottom here. And you can see we have this handle forming. And so, you know, what I'm looking for on RKT is to take a position over 26, pretty much $27. I think over $27, we could definitely catch, you know, 3 points up to $30. But then we could also run some Fibonacci extensions and see, you know, where could price potentially go? And so here, 29.19, 32.15. So those would be my two targets for RKT if we do eventually get this breakout of the cup and handle. However, we can also do a measured move from the base of the handle, I'm sorry, the base of the cup to the rim of the cup. And that also could give us a potential price target here of $35. So, you know, if we do, you know, what's the percentage on that move? It's a 30% move. So if we're looking at stock, you could potentially get 30% on this move. If you're looking at options, I would probably look out maybe to the October calls, and we could certainly take a look at that tomorrow morning in the room. But that would be the way I would play it. Personally, how I'm going to play it, I'm going to buy shares on the breakout, and I'll probably buy some medium-term options, probably the 30 calls for October, maybe even the 30 calls for September. I think it all depends on how the stock sets up and how we're going to move. But that's RKT. We could take a look at that more in detail in the room tomorrow morning. Next up is Peloton. Let me go back to my daily chart. And so Peloton, you know, they've been doing pretty well. We've been in a bit of this bull flag setup. We do have earnings on September 10th. So I'm expecting a little bit of an earnings run moving here and forward. But what I would say is I've been building stock, and I have some longer term options on Peloton. But keep in mind with this pattern here, you know, we could potentially pull back to this line before we eventually test the top of the trend channel. So just, you know, be conscious of that. You know, we don't want to necessarily just jump on the boat right away. But if we do continue to break over $70 and hold, you could see these two wicks right here. We broke 70, but we pulled right back. So for me, that's telling me it's not ready. But once we do, we should start to test that 73.41 level. And if we can get through that, then 77.15 would be our next stop right here at the top of this channel. I think ultimately my target is going to be $81 on this move. I think we can get there by earnings, but it would take, you know, maybe some kind of catalyst, maybe some, you know, pre-earnings news, something along those lines that could push us over 70, over 73, and then on our way. But I think 77 is definitely within reach, this top of the channel. I generally see stocks like this, they tend to terminate at tops of trend lines before earnings. So my target on this move is definitely going to be $77. And just to add a little side note to that, I still have not received my Peloton. I ordered it about 5 weeks ago, maybe 6 weeks. I think about 6 or 7 weeks ago. And I'm actually scheduled to get it on Saturday. So that 6 to 8 week delivery for me in my head said, woo, you know, their earnings I think are going to be pretty good. I think their sales are going to be strong. So if we do have an earnings run, the question is, will price be built in? So we'll wait and see. Next up is Space. So with Space, for me, I'm not playing options on Space. I'm just building a long-term position here. And, you know, there are definitely traders out there in the Twitter sphere that, you know, they hate on Space. You know, they're not a profitable company. They don't have a service yet. And that's fine. That's fine. This is still a very tradable stock. If you look at the technicals, we played this descending wedge breakout and we sold into this $25 level. And, you know, that was a 50% retracement from this move here at 42.57 down to $9.18. It was a technical play. These stocks are very tradable. Throw fundamentals out the window. But at this point, I am playing the hold of 1706, this 236 Fibonacci retracement. I like the risk reward here. The risk reward is very simple. We hold this level, we hold our shares. We don't hold this level, we stop out. But I think we can get back up to this $20 to $25 level as long as we hold 1712. So in any event, this is a risk reward play. Next up is Square. So, you know, we've been in Square. We played the break of this flag formation here. We knew what our target was. We hit our first target of $54. We broke through. We have a little bit of a spinning top here. So, you know, we could certainly see a retest of 154. We did close at 156 on Friday. Keep in mind on that pay ETF, the iPay ETF I just mentioned, it is starting to top out. So, you know, just keep that in mind. If you are in Square, you know, manage your trade, maybe take some profits if we have a bit of a pop. But I'm looking potentially for us to hit this 162 level in the medium term. Could be this week, you know, it all depends on how the market acts. But I think Square long-term is bullish. So if you have shares, happy to say, hold on to those shares. You know, we could see a pullback to the 20 simple moving average, but, you know, we also can continue to consolidate and on 154 before we make our next run up. You know, if I were to move my anchored volume by price tool back to the beginning of this move, we can get a sense of what price has been doing. If it lets me grab it, sometimes it doesn't let me grab it. There we go. So I'll bring it back to my previous swing low. And you can see we had a little bit of a volume shelf here that we launched off of, and we're starting to build a little bit of a volume shelf here too. So, you know, if we consolidate a little bit, fine with that, because then we could just use that as a launching pad. And also it would be a little bit of support underneath us. And you could see from our previous swing high, we are holding over this anchored VWAP. So I'm still bullish on Square, happy to keep it. And let's move on to eBay. So eBay is another one that's been setting up pretty nicely. I did take some profits on Friday when when we failed to hold this 58.23 level. You could see like that was going to be my first target, 58.23. So I did take a little bit off. I had a decent sized position. I was looking more so at these candles over here. So you could see if I drop my trend line right here, we did come very close to that. So I just wanted to manage the trade. And in fact, we did pull back a little bit to this 58.23 level. And I added some of those contracts back that I did sell. So, you know, sometimes I do play it like that. I don't necessarily call it out in the room. That's how I'm going to play it. I mean, my risk tolerance is going to be different than everybody else in the room, but everybody should manage their own trades accordingly. But in any event, I am looking to add on pullbacks to our trend line, pullbacks to our 20 simple moving average, but I am bullish overall on eBay. I think the setup is technically really nice. I think we can see $61 at some point in the next week or two, but keep in mind eBay is a little bit of a slow mover. So next up is Roku. Roku's been a tricky play, not going to lie. I know Roku pretty well. I play it pretty well. We have been consolidating underneath our 20 simple moving average. So what I've been doing is I've just been accumulating shares between 145 and 153. In that zone, I'm happy to accumulate. If we fall below 140, let's call it 143, 142.50, at that point, I may start de-risking my position. But I am, again, holding shares here. I am not playing options on this because it is consolidating. We do have a little bit of a head and shoulders formation here on the daily chart. So I'm just managing my trade. I don't know if we're going to break out. But what I would say is if we do get back over 153, you can catch 5 points, 6 points up to 159. I think there's definitely a trade right there. You could play options, weekly options on that. But if you're looking more long term, I do like ROKU long term as a play. Next up is AMD. AMD had a pretty good Friday. As you could see, we had this symmetrical triangle breakout on Thursday, continuation on Friday. We did hit $84 and we did pull back a little bit, but overall, I'm pretty bullish on AMD. Look at this 20 SMA pullback here on Thursday. I did take an early entry on that pullback, and then I did add on the close after Thursday on this close over $82. So, I think technically the setup is really nice. I think we can hit 95, upwards of $100 in the next couple of weeks. AMD is look at these gap ups here. It's prone to run. So we are right on top of this 20 simple moving average. I mean, look at how we held the 20 simple moving average here, and then price just really ran up. So it can do that. If we're over the 20, I'm happy to keep this trade. So just keep that in mind. Next up is work. Work is a little bit of a tougher trade right now. As you can see, I have two trend lines here. I had this main trend line from the high that we made, but then I added the second trend line here because I saw this nasty wick, and I wanted to see, you know what, if we did break out of the first white trend line, what would happen at the second white trend line parallel to the white? And look, on Friday, we hit it and we quickly sold right off. So we did come back and tap that 20 simple moving average. However, the 20 is in a downtrend line, or it's pointing downwards. And our swing high anchored VWAP is sitting right here at $32. So I think 30 is going to be a little bit of a tough level. If you could see back here, we tapped it here, we tapped it here, and we tapped it here, and we finally broke out. Broke down a little bit here, but then when we finally broke out for real that time, we came up. This was the earnings gift that we got. Came right back down to 30, came back up to 35, back down to 30, back to 35, back down to 30. And remember, when support breaks and it's good support, when resistance breaks and it's good resistance, it turns to support. But every time that support gets tested, it gets weaker and weaker and eventually breaks down. And you break down right to that next support, which was $28. When I saw 28 holding, that's when I started loading the boat right here. You see these wicks down. This wick right here tried to basically knock people out. And for me, this was a signal. This candle right here. Let's see, it's Friday. I think that was Monday. And so I bought a bunch of shares here, and I sold a little bit into 30, but I also am holding contracts for 32 for September 18. So I want to see this over 30. I think that's the key level. I think over 30 and over this trend line, we're going to test 32. I think that's almost a given. The question then becomes, do we break 32 and make our way back up to 35? That's what I'm just not sure of. So when we do hit 32, I'm going to manage the trade. I'm going to take profit, and I'm going to wait to see if we break over 32. And if we do, I'll roll up my contracts like the 35s in October, but I'm not going to roll up until we close over $32. Next up is Pinterest. Got a lot of messages about Pinterest. There is a trade going on right now. The entry was 36.50. We didn't quite hold that, but we didn't quite break our stop loss either. So I actually added, I believe Bowtie called out that pins was coming down to support. I added some more contracts here on this pin to literally the pin to pin of this 33.62 level based on this pin right here. And so far we're holding. So I think if we hold $33, I'm happy to stay in this trade. Technically, from the candle standpoint, yeah, it's not nice, but I am still bullish on Pinterest. I think it needs to consolidate a little bit because it did have this earnings gap up run, but technically we are still looking okay. So as long as we hold $33, this is why we buy contracts a month out. Sometimes we need to give ourselves time for these trades to set up. You can't be buying weeklies on stocks like Pinterest because you need a news-driven event or earnings to drive price. So that's pins. I'm still okay in this trade. Again, I always ask for all of you to manage your own trades, but I'm happy to let you know when I'm going to cut this trade if I need to. Next up is ENPH. Again, we were talking about that TAN ETF. Again, it's setting up pretty nicely. This is going to be patience. We came up to all-time high. We sold off. Came up to all-time high again. Sold off. So, we really just need to have a little bit of patience on ENPH. I think once we break $76, which is our first target, we should run quickly to 79. And then after 79, we have a little bit of resistance up here between $85 and $86, but ultimately our price target is $90. So we're setting up. There's nothing wrong with this trade. It's got a really nice trend here. Again, we may pull back to the $70 level or to the 20 simple moving average, but ultimately I'm bullish on ENPH. So a couple of new stocks I'm going to talk about. One is Fast. Fastenal, I think it's ready to pop. Again, we could talk about this 20 simple moving average. I'll talk about it till I'm blue in the face. So, tap of the 20, tap of the 20, tap of the 20, tap of the 20, tap of the 20. Now the 20 is pushing up against this resistance level right here, this flattening top. So it's a little bit of a ascending triangle, a little bit of a flag formation, but once we get over 48.54, watch $50. I may take the trade on a breakout, but I'm going to be very conscious of $50. $50 being our psychological resistance. So just keep that in mind. Ultimately, I would like to see 50 break, and then my target would be $53. No official trade plan here. I may have this as my official trade for tomorrow morning. I may not. It all depends on how we open up tomorrow morning, how futures look, how the morning session looks, where volume is at. I don't like to do call outs for new trades on Sunday morning because a lot can happen overnight. All right, next up is DraftKings. DraftKings, again, is in a bit of a range, but I had this little note, weekly flag, right? So let's take a quick look at the weekly chart. And you can see this is why we look at multiple time frames. To me, this is a bullish chart. It just needs time. When we're on the weekly, it's going to be a longer time frame. So what I'm doing with DraftKings is I'm building shares. I'm building a position. You can do long calls as well. I think that's totally be fine. But you're not playing weeklies, and you're not, maybe you can play monthlies, but we just don't know. DraftKings, obviously, they're dealing with sports betting. And we just don't know what's going on with sports and COVID. There were a couple of baseball games that were canceled late last week. So, we're still in this time frame where, there's going to be some volatility. But technically speaking, look at this, wick down to the 20 simple moving average, 20 weekly moving average. Technically, it looks really fine. It looks totally fine. We're building a nice volume shelf. We're holding under this potential resistance level of 38.80. So you could see I have an alert set to buy over 38.80, and you could see we didn't quite hit that level. Again, I am building a position regardless of not breaking out, but once we break out, I'm going to compound my position for sure. Next up is FSLY. FSLY definitely in this trade still. I really, really like this setup. I personally bought the bottom over here. I saw this as an island gap reversal. So an island gap reversal is when a stock gaps down, starts to form a rounded bottom, kind of like an island. And generally what Bulkowski, his notes say, is that at some point we are going to gap back up and then come back to where the gap started. So I think that's the play for FSLY. I think what we have to watch, though, is when price comes to the bottom of the gap. Right at this $94 level, I'm taking some of my shares off and I'm taking some of my contracts off. I want to manage this trade because I've seen a lot of times stocks come into their gaps and get rejected, or sometimes they'll partially fill and then pull back really hard. So I'm in really good profit, obviously, if I got down back here. And we did also get rejected from our 20 simple moving average, but we did close right over our previous anchored VWAP swing high. So there's a lot of noise in this chart right now, but if you could see through the noise, I think there's a trade here. Next up is TDOC. So another, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but this is an amazing technical setup that I found last week. If I turn on the raindrops, we had a double blue raindrop back to back right here. I put this out in Twitter. TrendSpider retweeted it. A lot of people got in right at 185, and look at where we are. We're at 234, right? So that's what? That's like almost a 50-point move. I mean, it was just an incredible play. So why I got in here, not only because of the blue raindrop, because we held this support level right here, we closed over it, and we also had this uptrend line right here that we were holding. So this was basically a 26% play in, let's count it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, in 7 trading days. Basically in a week and a half, 26%. I mean, it was just a great technical setup. I can only say that it wasn't, anything other than me looking at the chart, knowing how to read it, getting in at the right point, and just doing a highly, a high reward, low risk trade. So right now my target is going to be 236. I'm going to watch to see how price reacts around that point, but ultimately sitting pretty at around 20. I think it was around 23, 24% on this particular trade. So I've already de-risked it. I've moved my stop losses up, but I'm going to make sure I want to stay in this trade. You all know my story about TDOC. I'm not going to go into it already again, but that's my story, and I'm sticking to it on TDOC. Next up is Apps. Apps is another stock that I had called out a couple of weeks ago. It was just showing tremendous relative strength, and excuse me, it's been showing up on a lot of velocity scanners. So I've just been building a position. I think I'm up like around 35% right now on this particular position, and I'm not selling it. I'm holding apps for the long term. I think eventually we'll pull back down to this 20 simple moving average, probably like around $20, somewhere between $20 and $24 over the next few weeks. Or maybe it just continues to run. I'm not really sure. But if we do pull back, I'm going to be looking to buy pullbacks to the 20 on this and just ride this trend until it's no longer a trend. It is another solar player, Digital Turbine. So check out the company, put it on your watch list. If you are in this trade, just please manage the trade. If you have good profits, there's no harm in taking profits. But for me personally, I am looking at this more long term than short to medium. Next up is Netflix, one of the few large cap stocks I'm going to talk about. I think from a technical standpoint, I think this is a really interesting setup. We are right around our psychological $500 resistance level. We had this balloon breakout of our descending triangle here. We did close above the 20 simple moving average, and ironically, we had this pullback retest of the breakout of the descending triangle, but we also retested that 20 simple moving average. So I think put Netflix on your watch list. I'm sure Printing will have this on his list for scalps tomorrow morning. We're just going to watch to see how price reacts, and we'll go from there. But I think short, medium term, I could definitely see if we can get over 500, we should start to test this 510 to 520 range. So, yeah, I think that's Netflix. Wait, let me go back to that chart real quick. I didn't even see my own note. Oh yeah, breakout retest. All right, just wanted to make sure. Let's see. Next up is Baba. So Baba was another thing. I think Sniper called it out. I called it out. I mean, Sniper is amazing on these raindrop breakouts. This is exactly why he called this trade. Not a surprise here. You know, had a nice symmetrical triangle here. Kind of a flaggish pattern coming up to all-time high. And all of this volume closed above our breakout level. So for me, this is telling me we're probably going to have a continuation on Monday. So if you didn't get into this trade, I think that the next entry is right at all-time high breakout. So just check this 267.72 level. I think that could be a really excellent entry for a scalp or a day trade. And even potentially a swing if Baba can hold this all-time high level. And then last up is Neo. Neo, for those of you who know me, I've been in Neo since probably around 350. I think right around here when I think we broke out of this level here. So I think right around 380, $4 is my average right now. I did sell 75% of my position between $10 and $15. And so, you know, we are looking at a little bit of a consolidation zone here. I wouldn't be adding this. You know, we are what I like to call in no man's land. I would not be adding Neo until we're over 1529. One of the members had brought it up as far as the technical setup, and I do like the setup, but to buy here, you risk pulling back to the 20 and pulling back to the bottom of the triangle. So if we do test, let's say we test the 20 or we test the bottom of the triangle, then maybe there's a trade there. You know, that you know, the risk to reward might be okay. But from me, because of my position that I already have with it, I'm just going to wait to add over 1520 to potentially run upwards of $20. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's what I have for this evening. Bear with me one second. So let me just give me a minute to just run through chat, see if there's any questions in here, and then we could take it from there. So bear with me. So somebody was asking about, does this mean anything to PFE? I haven't traded PFE, I don't think. Pfizer. So from a technical standpoint, Pfizer's breaking out. It's holding its 20 simple moving average. I would watch Pfizer over 39.22. I think over 39.22, you can catch like 2 points up to around $41. So to be honest with you, I don't know. I don't know how this COVID noise is going to affect Pfizer, but from a technical standpoint, I could tell you that there's definitely a trade over $39. Facebook, sure. Take a look at Facebook real quick. So Facebook looks like it's consolidating a little bit. It's got a nice rounded bottom here. Not seeing a trade just yet. Let me turn on my hollow candles. I would wait. Let's see. I would wait till over 268. Looks like 268 is a bit of a level here. I think over 268, we could start working our way back up to 273 and potentially all-time high at 278, and then potentially test this top of the trend line here. So that's what I see for Facebook. ZM, sure. ZM had a little bit of a blue raindrop here, I think, on Wednesday. And you could see after that blue raindrop, we had a nice continuation right up to 290. I think we test 300 this week. Do we break and continue over? I don't know. But I think we test 300. I think Zoom has been strong. Technically, we had this flag breakout, retest of the bottom of the flag, and continuation. So, I like Zoom from a technical standpoint. I think a lot of the move is already done, so I could see this more as an intraday play or a scalp. I wouldn't be going long here on Zoom though. All right, so Brett, if a prior swing high is at resistance, does clearing that anchored VWAP from that high mean you've cleared that resistance, or do you need to clear that prior swing high candle? No, I think over the previous swing high anchored VWAP, I could see that as a really good technical trade if we hold over that to retest that previous high candle. So, you could use that as a potential swing or as a potential day trade if a stock is running. Basically, let's see if we can maybe see it on here. Bear with me one second. And I'll turn off so you can see this previous swing high anchored VWAP. We broke out on this candle here, and then we came up and retested the high of that candle. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely one way you can play breaks of swing high anchored VWAPs for sure. Far as, yeah, I'm using the 20 simple moving average. So just to give you a little bit of my style, I know some of our members in here, they already know how I trade, but for our new members, basically, I'll turn off my drawings. Basically, what I do is I use on the daily, weekly, and monthly, I use the 20, which is my green, the 50 simple moving average, which is the blue, and the 200 simple moving average, which is the red. When I go down to my 65-minute chart and below, I use EMAs. So with EMAs, they're exponential and they give more weight to the more recent candles. And so what I generally will do is when I'm on my lower time frames, I want to understand a little better about how those stocks are acting in the more recent candles. And so with the EMA telling me a little bit more of price action in the recent candles, I could look at maybe buying pullbacks to the 8 EMA or the 21 EMA. That's how I would use my EMAs. And, you could see like these EMAs here are stacked on the 65-minute, as Nick C likes to talk about. If I turn off and go back to my hollow candles, and I go down to my 5-minute chart, you're going to see them probably flat or turning down, right? So this is our jumbled mess. And the only reason I knew that is because we're consolidating. We're setting up for a move. And so you can see if I expand this a little out, you can see we're forming a symmetrical triangle here on the 5-minute chart. So, what I'm waiting for is a breakout of this symmetrical triangle, whether it be a break to the upside, or a break to the downside. That's the question. We don't know just of yet. I don't know why it's not drawing out. There we go. So we don't know, if this is going to break to the upside, is it going to break to the downside? But that's why, in the mornings, that's why sometimes, printing will have, calls and puts loaded up, because if we're in a move like this where price is getting consolidated within the pattern, it could break either way. There's no way for us to really know. And so why not have a plan both ways? So if we break out over 291, then we can buy like the 295 calls. But if we break down from 289, then we can buy the 285 puts. All right. So that's the beauty of technical setups. You can play them both ways. You just have to get comfortable using calls and puts. It's really, there's really no difference either way. And to be honest, I can care less whether we break up or we break down, because as a technical trader, I'm just looking to see how the pattern breaks, and I'll play it either way. My take on TTD, it's an absolute beast. It's just, honestly, it was a stock I had under $100, and I should have just held it, But you don't know these things. You just don't know what stock is going to be a beast and what stock is going to, underperform. But, if I go to the weekly chart on TTD, I mean, look at this chart. It's an absolute monster. So for me, this is just, you buy it and you buy pullbacks. You just that's what you do with TTD. Um, you know, it's in a bit of a range. It's in a channel, and so you can see we're just pretty much buy, come up, buy the bottom of the channel, come up, buy the bottom of the channel, come up, buy the bottom of the channel. It's probably just going to continue to do this until it doesn't. And then when it doesn't, you buy the pullback to the 20 simple moving average. It's really just that simple. Why don't you use the 13 EMA instead of the 20 SMA? Oh, that's just my style. It works. It's what works for me. I've been trading for a few years. I know I've tried everything under the sun. It's just what works for me. If the 13, let's play a game. All right. So let's go back to the daily. Let's take a look. I'm going to go to my indicators. I'm going to go EMA. I'm going to pop on, what did you say? The 13? All right, so let's put the 13 on. I'll apply that. Yeah, so you can play the 13. It looks like it tracks. It looks like it tracks very similarly. So that's the beauty of technical analysis, ladies and gentlemen. I can do things my way and you can do things your way, and we can achieve the same results. And that's why I would never say do things the way I do it or do things the way Nick does it or Justin does it. We each have our own style. It's up to you to see what you identify with. So if you like a little bit of my style, but throw in, fibs and TTM from Nick, and throw in the 3-minute chart, and if that works, fantastic. In my trading, I've taken bits and pieces from other traders that I've watched and that I've mentored under, and I've developed my own style. I know what works for me. So that's really what it's all about. You got to get comfortable. You can't try everything, but you should try a few things out for a period of time, and if you feel like it's not working for you, then try a different system. You're going to find what works. Got about 10 minutes left. I'm not going to do that. Maybe one or two more chart reviews, but let's see. MRVL. Yeah, that's a good one. It's on my watch list, Jon Snow. I'll swing back to that. I'll pop it up right now and I'll talk about it in a second. I just want to get through questions in the room. I do like RVL, a couple of them. All right, let me just go back. Facebook had a double inside week. Thank you for that. Net, we're still in. I'm in the 45 calls for September, I think, or maybe October. Pup is your last trade posted in the Discord? It should be. Yeah, just the training room. And if just and I'll link. So Steven's asking, where do you get news stock ideas from? So sometimes I use Benzinga news. Sometimes I use the Fly. I'm not a fundamentals driven trader. I'm like 99% technicals, 1% fundamentals. I really just look at the technical setup. The only time for me that fundamentals news comes into play is what happens this evening. That's for me, that's going to change the way I scan and change what I look at. But I don't really watch news that much. Again, I just watch for the technical patterns. Very welcome, Gerardo. Brett, we talk about now in the room. I think Nick C is a good chart now. I haven't traded now, so Yeah, Ray, and I use the scanner. You know, also, if I go to my sidebar, I could add widgets on TrendSpider, and I could add news, and I could add seasonality, and basically this will give me, you know, some Benzinga news on MRVL. So his on March 3rd was the last news event from Benzinga, and then seasonality tells me how the stock performs over particular days, weeks, months, etc. Net is struggling at $40 right now. So I sold most of my net position into 40 last week, early last week. And at this point, I'm not going to be rolling up until we can break and hold over 40. I just think there are better technical setups right now. But I do like net. Having said that, I do like net long term. The KES strat combo. Nice. Snap. I do like Snap as long as we hold over 2250. All right, so let's take a look. We got a couple of minutes. Let me take a look at MRVL. Let me close my sidebar here. So MRVL, let me turn off this EMA that I put on. So we had this inverse head and shoulders here, right? Let's look at what our previous trade plan was. Entry was at 37, and we kind of broke out, but broke down from that. Stop loss was 35, stop loss hit. So we've lost the 20 simple moving average, and we're coming back down to this level right here of prior support. So we could be bouncing. So you know what? I'll come up with a quick trade plan for you right now. If we hold this level, right, you can get in here right at 33. If we open up at 33.50, you can keep your stop loss at 32.50 with a price of first 36.51, but then 37.80. So if you go for 37.80 and that's your price target, it's a 4-to-1 risk to reward. So it's pretty nice. Take a look at the weekly. Sure. So yeah, right there, 20 simple moving average. Just buy it at $32. I think at $32, it's probably a good long. You could see it's been hugging the 32. Now it did lose it here, so that doesn't give me, you know, huge amount of confidence. But my concern at going there is your next support is pretty much at $27. So that would be my concern. If you lose the 20, price can quickly fall right down to $27, about a 13% loser. So let's just take a quick look. Where is my volume by price? This is where the volume by price really comes into play. Look at this gap here, right? So this is where I would be concerned about buying the pullback to the 20. You have this volume gap right here. And what I've noticed in my experience with the volume gaps is that once price loses the shelf, it falls right back down to what I like to call the pillow. And so we have a little bit of a pillow right here. This would be your, yep, like right there. And you could see a little bit of a shelf forming here. Now, if I were to take from this capitulation point and bring it to this capitulation point, look at that. EK, that tells a story, right? That tells a much different story than what we were looking at. So this is what you have to watch out for. Look at where we stopped. Look at where we held. I would not buy the 20 at this point now, just seeing this, because now if you come to the 20, you're below the volume shelf, right? So you got a volume shelf there, and you got a volume shelf there. Now, I will say, if you did take a position here, just put your stop loss right under the 20. But for me, this is a risky setup. I would not be buying MRVL here just because of this gap right here. Now, let's monitor it and let's, keep our eye on it and let's see how it acts.
Market data connection reestablished.
So on the monthly, you're not seeing anything that much different. What we could do is go back to the daily and throw on the raindrops and see, if that gives us any sense of anything. So no blue raindrops, right? But, volume is a little bit of a balloon raindrop here. So what I would say is, for a technical setup, we are breaking out. Okay. So this could be an entry here. What I would just caution is keep a tight stop loss on this. Keep a tight rein on this trade, because yes, we can come up, but if you were to take this trade here, watch the retest of the 20 simple moving average. We can easily come up to the 20 and then get rejected and come back and test this level again. And if we did that, we could fall through. So that's how we look at trades. So for those of you who have joined us this evening, who are new to the room or are new to OTE, our trading edge, this is basically what we do on a daily basis. So on Sundays, we do our run through very much like this. I do my scans, Nick does his scans, Justin does his scans, and then Monday morning we come up with you, with plans for you guys and gals for you to trade off of. So this is who we are. This is what we do. We also run classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We call them trade talks. And basically each of us takes our turn and we go over things that we do, things we're looking for in the market. We'll review a couple of trades. We also run monthly deep dive classes. Printing Profits just finished his fantastic candlesticks class. I'm up next. It's going to be a little bit of a secret. I'll reveal in the next week or two what my class is going to be for September. But I'm excited. I'm starting to build out all of my slides and my charts for that. So should be pretty exciting. But listen, thank you so much for being with us. I really appreciate those who continually come on Sunday evenings, taking away from your friends and your family and your time away from reality. So thanks again for being with me. I appreciate it. Appreciate the support. Thank you to my members who have been with us for weeks, months. And for those of you who are new, welcome to the family. Please feel free to reach out to me or any of the top traders or expert traders or any of the members for that matter. We've got a great group of members. I think we're approaching about 250 members now. And everybody's super helpful. We all are each other's eyes, and we're a family. So welcome to the family for those of you who are new. And for those who I've invited off of social medias, if you are considering joining us, I can offer you a 3-day free trial for you to check out what we're doing. I think, you'd be pleasantly surprised that at $50 a month, it's beyond signals. I think most of the members, yes, everybody's here to get the buy and call entries and exits for our trades. But I think the reality is a lot of our members are here for the education. And I think we go above and beyond what other groups do. A lot of other groups out there, they just give you the signals. They don't tell you how to do it. For us, we want a room of 200 expert traders, because that's only going to help everybody cover the entire market and find those little hidden gems that maybe as a person that can only view 10 to 12 stocks at a time, I have a certain bandwidth. Everybody has their own certain bandwidth. So together we are strong, divided we will fall, right? So on that note, I will leave it at that. I do appreciate, again, you being with me this evening. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday, and we'll catch you in the markets tomorrow morning.